There are no second chances. It's a quarter-final, semi-final, and a final. We lose, we're out. So the performance is that every game is a final. 28 players are going to be selected. Those 28 players must go to France knowing that the game against Uganda is a final. The semi-final is also a final, and the final is a final in itself.
Welcome to Straight Talk, where we engage Kenya's brightest minds with the issues facing our nation. I'm your host, Yvonne Cheke. Today, we are joined by a man who is the director of rugby and a pathways manager at Kenya Rugby Union, Mr. Paul Odera. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
I think before we began, you were telling me how you began playing rugby at 10 years old.
Yes.
What inspired you to begin?
I watched, well, first my older brothers played rugby because they were in rugby playing schools, Nairobi school. So I'd see them, I'd hear them talking about it because I'm the last born. And then I watched, there used to be a show called Gillette Sports Special for us fossils who
Yes.
can't remember it.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they brought, I think I was about 9. And they were showing the All Blacks playing. And I just watched that. And 2 years before that, a missionary from the Ivory Coast, a French missionary, had come into the primary school that I was in, Consolata, and introduced rugby. And he introduced us to play into it. So it was like different forces moving at the same time.
Yes.
And I fell in love with the game.
Could you imagine that would shape your entire life?
No.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
No. Standard 4. No. But it has.
So now rugby has become your life's work.
Yes, it is. And now at the age of 50, I'm now employed full time with the Kenya Rugby Union and also trying to do some research on the game. It's interesting. You ask, would I imagine it being my lifetime's work? No, but it was always my life.
It was always your life. You were influenced in prep school, played in high school,
yes,
on to university, and professionally as well.
Yes, let's call it post-school, because in Kenya, I'm not sure if you can call it.
There's no professional athletes.
No, there's senior rugby. But again, you ask a very good question, because is professionalism because you are getting a salary, or is professionalism really how one approaches what they love and what they're doing?
In the strict sense, in order to earn an income, yes.
Yes. So, I'm sitting with you here. You're very professional in how you're conducting the interview and how this whole setup is going. But does it necessarily have to be that someone pays you for you to have a professional approach? So it's an argument we've had with people over years, because our young people connect professionalism with cash. So they want that you pay me and then I'll become like Tiger Woods. But Tiger Woods was Tiger Woods before he got the money. So wouldn't you first rather be like Tiger Woods, then the money follows you?
But does the money follow? I think Tiger Woods was able to execute that plan with the ability to know that there would be a benefit at the end. And anyone deserves to say, I do something hard and I train myself. I should earn a living off what I do.
I should be compensated. I agree with you completely. But you must first do what champions do to earn what champions earn. Not earn what champions earn, then you'll do what they do.
So that leads then to ask, what is your view about the development of Kenyan rugby?
Wow. It's multifaceted. There's been developments around playing numbers. When I started playing, the game was, in all senses, an elite sport, confined to maybe 5 or 6 high schools. And the primary schools, any rugby below 14 was being played by the British prep schools predominantly, and maybe Rift Valley Academy. Then you had the likes of ourselves in schools where if there was a rugby master who introduced it, it would work. Then there was programs run by the Rugby Patron Society, which is how I was playing rugby on weekends outside school. Then in 1990, the biggest change that impacted rugby was the Ministry of Education adopted rugby as one of the term sports. End of every term, the Kenya Secondary Sports Association organizes sport. So rugby was not part of the conversation. Now, the reason rugby was pushed through was because a lot of the rugby playing teachers were now in senior positions and able to influence policy at the Kenya Secondary Sports Association. So there's a group called Damupevu. They were in Lenana and Nairobi school and rugby playing schools. Then a number of them became teachers. And then that influence, once rugby was adopted into the Kenya Secondary Sports Association. Now that means the government takes up the funding for divisional games into district games. At that time, all districts and provinces and then nationals. The game exploded. Numbers exploded, and suddenly there was rugby everywhere. And I don't think we've quite caught up with the explosion of the game. So that's really, if you look at development in terms of numbers, if you look at development in terms of the national side, it's been hit or miss, I think, if you call it that. Around our Simbas, our 15-a-side team, who have made progress in some respects, sometimes regressed, but it's never been consistent development around there.
It's interesting because there was a large push towards rugby has been popular, from my perspective, was popular for a long time. Currently, I don't see a big push towards its popularity and its events. Would that play a part in it?
You're right. It does. And I like the word you use, that your perspective and perception as a consumer of the game, but really maybe not a player. And I think rugby was positioned a lot better in years gone by. The marketing of, I think, certain assets and certain events within the Kenya Rugby Union were more aggressively, put out there. And so, someone like yourself who appreciates the game but not necessarily a die-hard fan was able to enjoy the game.
So now we see then the World Rugby Sevens Series Division 2 being awarded to Kenya. It kind of feels like a push towards trying to revive the game within the country.
Yeah.
Yes. Were you involved with the drive towards the award?
I'd like to take credit. Yes, being an insider, the director of rugby, I was indeed part of that conversation. And you know how it works sometimes. Sometimes it's just not the proposal you put in. So there were all informal conversations happening for quite a while at the HSBC Sevens events. There's a lot of lobbying that was going on behind the scenes, and I think credit needs to go to the hierarchy at the Kenya Rugby Union for continuing the conversation and successfully managing to get the HSBC Sevens 2 competition here. So it's a big deal.
What does it mean for Kenya?
It's a big deal.
Yes.
It is a big deal. You've got to think, if you think continentally, the only country that hosts a HSBC event is South Africa.
South Africa, yes.
So of all the countries in the African continent who play rugby, then Kenya has been chosen to host this HSBC 2. And of course, if we do it well and it's a success, the big one now is the HSBC 1, which is now all the top teams globally coming in here for 2 or 3 days, which you can't downplay the significance of what being awarded this tournament means.
Is Kenya ready to host such an event? Do we have infrastructurally the capacity in February?
We do. I think the alternative, there's the Talanta Center that's being built on Ngong Road. It may not be ready, but we do have a plan B, which is the Nyayo National Stadium. It's fantastic turf. Remember, rugby is about the pitch. Once your pitch is first class, then you can put the rest in. But we have enough hotel space in Nairobi. Where we may need to try and look at facilities and infrastructure is where the teams will go in terms of gym conditioning, because the teams will need that. Training pitches as well. There may be a lack of that, but I think if we do engage stakeholders early enough and do make a request, I think it will be possible for us to be able to get those facilities. So that we have. Just needs a bit of thinking around the logistics and upgrading a few of them. But we should be able to. Thank goodness for football and Chan and getting all these stadia upgraded. So it's given us an opportunity.
What sort of upgrades do you imagine should happen?
I think if we're at the Nyayo National Stadium, because we haven't been to the site yet on Ngong Road, but I think just some adjustments may need to be made to accommodate the 12 teams in terms, because teams and players do like where they can maybe just decompress and get some downtime. So maybe there needs to be adjustment, because the stadium is built ostensibly for 2 teams playing, not a tournament of 12 teams. So I think that can be. I think we can make some adjustments. I don't think there's enough time to actually build all those changing rooms within a very short period of time. So I think that's one. The pitch is perfect in terms of, if you looked at the Safari Sevens this year. And then, as I mentioned earlier, of course, just trying to see what training grounds we can get that of a good standard. But, if you do engage some schools, we've got good pitches, and maybe show them the benefit of, if you're having an international team training, it gives you a high profile, etc. We may be, I think, be able to manage to work through those logistics.
How do we make a tournament like this beneficial to all Kenyans?
Yeah, that's always a tricky one.
Because beyond the stadium, beyond the broadcasting rights, beyond the fanfare of the tournament, how does that translate to the ordinary mwananchi?
It's difficult. It's difficult for any hosting country usually. However, I think the way to try and make it have a lasting impact to non-traditional rugby people, if you call it that.
Actually, that's a great way to put it. Non-traditional rugby people.
Yes.
How do we benefit from a tournament like this?
I would think the future. So what I'd think of is we would want as many young boys and girls to come and watch. Now, obviously, that would need government support. So, between the Ministry of Sport, Ministry of Education, the children go to the show annually. How many school buses do you see? The whole week.
So many, yes.
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 If that could be something that the government takes on, as saying, right, we are going to make it part of the curriculum, that watching the HSBC 2 is a big deal. So you see what happens then is you're going to impact another generation of people who appreciate the game. So, Nyayo Stadium is 35,000. You could get 10,000 children, high school, primary school, coming in to watch. Now, to me, that would really be the best impact that we can have in terms of long term. In terms of infrastructure development, hosting a tournament like this is very expensive. My dream has always been for rugby to get its own national stadium. And I know there's the Talanta being built on Ngong Road. But again, that has to be shared with football and other team sports. But ideally, if conversations can happen around the land that's in Kasarani, and for that to be secured, for rugby to have its own national stadium. Those would be some of the things, so that when we do host Sevens 2 or Sevens 1, eventually it will actually be at the home of rugby in Kenya. So hopefully this can trigger these conversations or accelerate the conversations.
What else do you think, beyond rugby having its own stadium and home, could influence the growth of rugby in Kenya? Because there is exceptional talent here, and yet somehow its popularity is almost waning off.
Yes. So as a one-off event, it can have an impact if leveraged properly across the different, whether it's media or whether we are looking at certain demographics. So that could work. As the lead up to the event, when I was at the Hong Kong Sevens, they used the Hong Kong Sevens to market the game to the whole development ecosystem within Hong Kong. So you find that alongside the tournament, they're playing under 9, they're playing under 11, they're playing under 16s, they're playing under 15s. So the whole community is involved, and their coaches and their parents are involved, and they're playing on the pitch that the international teams are going to play on. That could be an opportunity for us to do the same. Yes, to bring in our whole community ecosystem. Because if children are playing, mom has to come, and dad has to come. And some families will pull in uncles and cousins. And so you see that, I think, could have a much larger impact.
Are there conversations like that ongoing?
There are conversations. We just had one yesterday.
Okay.
And the conversation now needs to be accelerated. I think it would be really important for us to try and get that running.
The tournament is not just men's, it's women's rugby as well.
Yes.
What impact do you think this will have on Kenyan women's rugby going forward? Huge
Impact, because these girls are now becoming role models. They're now becoming superstars in their own right, and not just as leftovers of the men. So the Africa Women's Sevens was a good start in November this year. And then our Sevens 2. And remember, our women qualified for Sevens 2 in their own right. They beat South Africa to qualify for Sevens 2.
A rugby powerhouse,
yes. Now the South Africa women have to come through Division 3 and come up to Sevens 2 to earn the right to come and play us. So it is going to have an impact on the women's game. But as well, we've got to try and make sure we are deliberate in terms of how we leverage the impact that it's going to have on the women.
So as we're gearing up to the tournament, what would you want fans to bring to the table? Because, it's not just the players, it's also the fans as well. It's a culture and a community.
Yeah. As always, I'd want the fans to bring their Kenyanness. Come, sing, dance, and cheer every try, every pass, every tackle, which they always do, but come in numbers. If we can fill that stadium, and as always, we get behind our team, will be very difficult to beat. And that's what I just want the fans to come and enjoy. And also, just come and enjoy the experience of the game. Sevens is very different from 15 aside. So I think it's always an experience for anyone who's not been in the rugby circles to just come and experience it. Yeah.
Okay. And if Kenya was to do well, it would impact our chances into entering the top tier HSBC Sevens competition.
Yes. It's important we start well. And it's because it's a culmination of points. There are 3 tournaments, and then from these 3 tournaments, the top 4 teams, I think, qualify for HSBC 1, and then to play in 3 championship tournaments with those top teams who started today. They've started in Dubai today, both the men and women. So this is key for us. We're at home. Let's get as many points as we can. Let's finish in a strong place. And then over the next 2 tournaments, I think we would have set ourselves into a good position to get into the championships.
So, what impact do you think this tournament will leave upon Kenya and the development of sports in the country?
For the country, for Kenya, I think first you can't discount the impact, the spin-off on tourism, the spin-off on some of the businesses related to sport and the game. And then also for us to be positioned globally just as a nation. So the geographical, the political positioning around sport, I think we've got to look at, it's like the Safari Rally. Mm-hmm. That's how I'd like us to think about it. What benefit does the Safari Rally have every time it comes to Kenya? Where suddenly the eyes of the rugby world or the focus is on Kenya, on Nairobi. And you sometimes we don't deliberately measure things like that, but we both know inherently that has an impact.
There is a game.
The game has an impact on many other aspects within the country. There's also the feel-good factor that is related to it, and just giving the populace in the country a lift to see that we're competing with international teams, playing them, and not only just competing, but also winning against them.
What would you tell somebody, a young year old, 9, thinking about thinking about what kind of sports to play? Why would you encourage them to head towards rugby?
The game.
It's violent. You break legs, you break fingers.
It's combat. It is a violent sport. It's combat.
It's quite a violent sport.
UFC.
If you compare it to football, right? Football has significantly less injuries than rugby. Why would you encourage someone to head towards rugby?
What I would encourage any young person who wants to play the game is, first, it's not for everyone. Mm-hmm. That's the reality. Mm-hmm. The game of rugby needs a special kind of human being, mindset. You have to be very brave. Mm-hmm. You have to have a selflessness that other sports, perhaps, you can be a bit selfish and get away with it. But the greatest joy about the game of rugby is you build friendships for life. Because the nature of the sport demands that. So if indeed any young person is thinking of playing the game, I'd encourage them that give it a try, because the bonds and the ties you build extend first way beyond the rugby pitch. Rugby people, once the game is over, it's over. Even if you've smashed each other to smithereens for 80 minutes, you'll have a drink, and you'll have uji, as it's called nowadays. And you can then have a good time after. But that's the game. Any young person who wants to play the game, it's the most special game in the world. It's not for everyone, but it will build you as a human being in ways that you cannot imagine, in terms of dealing with all the things that life will throw at you. And that's what the game has given me.
So that then must translate into how you proceed as a leader and a mentor as well.
Yes, in leadership, in mentorship, in approaching challenges, in resilience. I think of when I was in high school in St. Mary's, and really the way the school was structured really built everybody as a leader, not just those who are outstanding in sport, whether you're playing in inter-house matches, whether you're playing in class matches. It was a conversation we just had this year with some of my former teammates. I was with them in the LA Sevens this year, and we said, in fact, the game stretched us because we had to learn who's dependable. You knew who's a coward. You knew who's very brave. You knew how to cover for people who may not be as talented or as quick. You knew how to have patience with each other. It taught us how to argue fight with each other and still be able to move on. This is all within the game. So when we looked at suddenly how we are managing in life now, when we were 50 and turning 50, it was unbelievable. And we'd never had a conversation like that. So it's interesting you've asked me
So
that.
it's like life skills taught as you're learning to play rugby, discipline, teamwork, consideration, conflict resolution, all within learning how to, or competing as a team.
No, self-taught. Because there's no adult who was giving us these lessons. We had to look at Yvonne and say, oh, I think I need to cover for her because this is going to happen. Or unreliable, they'll never show up for training, or they're lazy, or they work hard. There's no coach who was telling us these things. We were working these things out by ourselves within the game, as you said. So whether it's at practice or whether it's at the competitive matches, or whether it's off the field, and yes.
It really does tell you then that sports in school isn't necessarily just about the athleticism, but more about the lessons that go behind that. And we should really champion to have children experiencing and engaging in more sports within our schools.
Exactly. It's not about winning. Yes, it's about building the whole human being. So these, the points that I'm mentioning and what you're also talking about, it's about just building you as a human. And I remember those of us who were privileged enough to play for the first team, you still had to come and play inter-house matches with those who would never have a chance to step on the rugby field for the first team. So you had to be patient with them. And they also then raised their game because they were playing with someone who's really talented. But it was that they suddenly grew as human beings because they were valued in the team. And if they made a good tackle, you tell them, well done. I remember playing an inter-class match, and one of my teammates was terrified because the game is scary. And, told him, you just stand here, you don't have to do much, and we'll protect you, we'll support you. And we're friends till today.
Yes.
This is 30 years after high school. And not that he was the most talented person, but because he was brave enough to say, I'm going to do this for my mates, it then gives you a commitment to be with other people and to serve other people. And even that's what I mentioned earlier, the game of rugby is a very special game. And it's like none other that you experience. And when I was in high school, the way they had organized life for us young men gave us that ability around sport, because we played hockey, we played football, we played rugby, and there was basketball, and all those sports allowed us to build that camaraderie, and to build that respect for ourselves, each other, and also for opponents.
As director of rugby, of Kenya Rugby Union, where do you hope to see rugby progress to within the next 5 years?
Next 5 years? For our national teams, particularly with sevens, my hope is that we could win a medal at the LA Olympics in 2028, to move from just being participants to actually being serious competitors. So that would be at the national team. Within my mandate as a pathway manager, mine would be to see if we can get national teams for both boys and girls up to under 14. If we can get an under 14 national team, which builds to an under 16 national team, which builds to an under 18 national team, which builds to under 20s, which then eventually builds to the main team. Because then that's a genuine pathway.
Infrastructure, yes, a pathway towards...
Yes, so we select them, we put them in, we have a scholarship program running. So if they're very talented players, I think there are many schools in the UK who are looking for talented Kenyan rugby players to go into year 9, to go into their A-level programs. So, if we can genuinely now start getting good quality going into those pathways, the universities who are looking for players, and then those players come back again and contribute to what we're doing here. So if we can get a genuine pathway in 5 years, and all those national teams are running. In fact, my dream was that we enter one big aeroplane from under 18 to under 14, and we go to South Africa, or we go to Zimbabwe, and we are playing the under 14 national team, or under 16, for both boys and girls. So that's where in 5 years I'd like to see that a genuine pathway has been built in. And it doesn't matter where you come into the path. So it's like if you're walking, you enter off this road, some people will leave. So it doesn't matter who comes in or who goes out, but there's a pathway that they choose. I want to come in here, and then what's my path moving up with that.
So as we conclude, how would you inspire young Kenyans thinking, rugby I might think about trying rugby? How would you encourage them?
I would tell any young person who wants to get into the game is you give it a try. If you don't like it, there's still a lot of opportunity for you to contribute to rugby. You don't have to play the game to contribute to rugby. You can contribute by watching. You can contribute to it by being maybe a referee if you'd like. You can be an administrator. But when you're a young person, join the game and just be part of it. Even if you're not a player, can still be our biggest supporters. I remember some of the most important people on the school bus was the person who led the sing song for the teams when you're going for an away match. And the people up to date, that is the identity that they forged within the game. So, and rugby encourages that people are singing and they're celebrating. So, and I tell any young person, give the game a try. It will give you tools, and it will give you an experience that you'll never forget. But most of all, it's going to give you a community that will be with you for life. So that's what I tell any young person. That's what the game does give you in life. A group and a community will be with you for the rest of your life.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paul Odera, for talking to us about rugby in Kenya, but also the upcoming tournament, the HSBC Nairobi Sevens Series. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Sevens too, yes.
Yes, which is occurring in February. We look forward to getting more involved into the rugby culture, and I know it's going to be quite a bit of fun.
And I hope I'll see you there.
Definitely.
Okay.
I have somebody I wish to inspire to be more sporting and active. So yes, I will be involved.
And bring others with you as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
You've been watching Straight Talk. I'm your host, Yvonne Chege. Join us again. Thank you.
They come here to the Buffalo. Oh, Spickman goes back for a haircut. But it's a Buffalo, keeps going.
This one, Mark. Oh, sit down! Sit down! Says Alvin Otieno. What about that? He pushes him so hard, Cabane loses his gum shield. Get out of the way.
Two Sevens rushing up and missing the tackle, and away goes Kenya, and it is Alvin Otieno going to get his second for the weekend in Cape Town. Now they put it to work with a slap and go, and away careers. Otieno! Otieno! Oh wow! Alvin Otieno takes it 55 and looks up and says, "Who wants it?" A couple of times in that last group. That's Kenya's turn to attack, and a wonderful offload from Mugaisi. And the try is scored. Brilliant score.